It's crazy how last week I went from having a pretty rough time mentally and emotionally to all of a sudden just being chill and cool and calm. I think it's because that processing time that I need took place, and it is relieving to see that even though the stuff I was thinking about was super valid, it's nice when I finally look back at it and I'm like, stuff is not as bad as it seems. I just gotta give certain things a chance, certain things an opportunity, and just look at it objectively. And sometimes when I feel down, of course, I'll be subjective because I'm like, well, because I'm feeling down, I'm going to have a little bit more of a negative look on things. But once that processing time happens and I'm on the other side of it, I like to just look back and notice where stuff went right, where it didn't, and just take it from there and repeat the cycle. There's no way I could get tired of that, even if I feel melancholic very often. There's no way I could get tired of experiencing the rebound, experiencing the other side of it. And now I'm feeling fine, however long this lasts, and then eventually I won't feel fine again, and I'll go through this again, and then see what new thing I'll learn from the future next downtime I may have. So, anyway, the cards stressless, kind of long. Refrain from complaining for the whole day and see how much better you feel afterwards. When it comes to complaining, I am undoubtedly a big fan of complaining. I feel like complaints are important because, especially the ones that have weight to them, the ones that are justified, the ones that actually have legitimacy behind them, those serve as an opportunity to point out to you the areas that could use improvement that maybe you have overlooked. And sometimes it takes that critical person to express their complaint to draw your attention to it. But there is the kind of complaints that, in my personal opinion, are petty. And those would be the complaints about the factors that are uncontrollable because they are factors that are more environmental more than anything. Let's take this season, for instance. Earlier, I went out to pick up some food, and traffic was bad. Parking lots were bad. But you know what I did? I told myself, I'm off today. And even if I wasn't off, there's nothing I can do about this. Speeding is not going to make it better. The best thing I can do is slow down to make sure that I keep awareness of my environment and not hit anybody. Nobody's in my blind spot, things like that. But the temptation was there, the temptation of complaining about how this is that shopping season, therefore traffic is going to be trash, and it's also traveling season. I guess it's more of a ground oriented traveling, whereas in the summertime, I feel like people travel by air a little more. But on the ground, you definitely see the difference. Whereas in the summertime, if anything, the ground doesn't seem as busy to me. I looked at it as, yeah, am I annoyed? Sure, because I'm so simple and my business is an in and out type of thing. I had ordered ahead. All I have to do is step out and walk and pick up and go. But of course, I have to deal with the traffic, and I'm going to be stuck in some places for a little bit. But once again, I just told myself I am in no hurry. I got absolutely nothing truly important to do besides resting. And what I'm doing right now, sitting in my car, chilling to my music, that counts as resting. Why would I allow myself to be upset by something like traffic if ultimately I'm gonna make it to wherever I'm gonna make it? And what better thing than making it to wherever I gotta make it without problems, without getting in a wreck, without getting injured or injuring somebody, those kinds of things. Another thing that I guess I could say I complain often about is the state of things when it comes to being a worker. We got nothing for the holiday season. I mean, nothing, not a little ass bonus, nothing extra on top of what naturally recurs with our employment status. And I was annoyed by that. I was upset by that because the only time I can think of we got anything resembling a bonus, it happened a long time ago, and it was trivial little vouchers, right? But I remember during lockdowns and everything, we were hailed as heroes and we were getting so much compensation because I guess technology was not advanced enough to replace workers to produce the same output, I guess, of what is needed to run the business, that you can't replace us with like robots or anything like that quite yet. And you were forced to rely on your human labor, but you had to come up with these crazy tactics such as hazard pay and just extra little breadcrumbs to convince you to stay and indulge in working more, because the time that you were working was much more challenging given that people were leaving or some people were just outright not showing up. Whoever was left behind, we had to do more. And I feel like that policy never quite updated because we still have the skeleton level crew, and that means more work for us who are left behind, but nothing really extra to show for it. And we only had like a one-time compensation type of thing, one-time little ass bonus that, of course, depending on your status, some people got more, some people got less. So I looked at it as, how about this? I could be upset that once again this holiday season I have undoubtedly worked hard and be upset about it. But then I said, you know what, just let it go. Because I know I'm in no way, shape, or form on my way on the path to becoming something like a millionaire, which seems to be everybody's goal. I looked at it as, if it is in my destiny, in my fate, to make it to that level, it will find me. I'm a believer of how stuff just aligns itself, kind of like fate type of thing, because there's a lot of shit that I can tell you guys I would have never considered would have happened to me had I planned for it. So I look at it as, I'm doing my part to get by reasonably. Anything extra, anything else, if it's going to conflict with my beliefs, such as not overworking myself to the point of karoshi, to the point of dying, or messing up my body much more than it already is, and taking me away from home, taking me away from being able to have time for domestic existence, domestic things, and say, have my mind together enough to interact with those people in my life who actually matter to me, as opposed to, you ever meet those adults who for some reason they forget their kids' names because that's how fucking stressed they are? That's the kind of lifestyle I want to live. I want to live one in which I'm not hurrying myself. I'm living based off what I can truly handle. And the price that I'm paying is reasonable. And it's nothing like, oh my God, I gotta wipe myself out, be tired, break down physically, all that bullshit. I'm not here for that. Especially if we're supposed to be a society of comfort. This is definitely not a society of comfort. I would rather go back to living in the woods and have a life expectancy of maybe 25 years, like in the good old days, as opposed to living a long ass life miserably. So that's kind of how I judge this type of stuff. And I feel like ever since I defined fully who and what I am, what it is that I value and don't value, my complaining level diminished. And I hope that the way I explained it, the way I illustrated it, made sense. Because sure, sometimes I'll be coming in here and talking about the dumbasses that I encounter in my day, right? It may sound like a complaint, but ultimately it's something that I understand is part of life. I understand it's part of existence. It's part of being here. It's part of other people having experiences that differ from mine. But at least I try to explain why I perform things contrary to that and how it goes for me versus how it's going for them. I like to compare and contrast, that type of thing. And I like to share what it is that works for me and what it is that doesn't, because I think that living a life in comparison is not healthy, but I think it's important to share those differences so that we can make better choices or that we can make adjustments. And I know that some of the adjustments I have made to my life, especially psychologically, emotionally, have come from making comparisons. Just cannot find it in me to complain anymore. Sometimes I think about, say, my financial status and I'm like, oh man, I definitely should be working more. I need to be pushing myself more. I need to become full-time. I need to consider becoming a manager and those things. And when I compare my life versus the life of those who are working extra and doing all those things, I'm like, I'm sacrificing my financial gain, but most of the folks I know are sacrificing their literal health. And that makes me so sad because these are people I care about, these are people I look up to, and I see the changes in their skin, their changes in their bodies, and even the changes in their mind because they are consumed by this. And on that note, I can also talk about the breakdown that their relationships have suffered because of the overworking. Some people have gotten divorced. No. In their position, they try to not complain because of the image they have to maintain. You're the face of the company, face of the department, face of the store. And I tell myself, I couldn't do that because you guys know me. I'm too honest. I'm too real. I like to project things the way they are. And I just cannot expect to put myself in a position where, in the name of professionalism, I'm going to act like everything is just fine. And it's my role, a diplomatic role. I just refuse to do that. I want things to be known. Know that this is miserable. Know that this is costly. Know that this is painful. And make a decision based off that. Some of the folks I have known who have pursued higher positions, they did so because they were looking for the prestige that may accompany it. They focused on what it looked like on paper, on the surface. But once they were thrown into it and they saw what it was really costing them, especially how the first thing that had to suffer was like their personal lives, and I see like how they have a degree of regret about it and they go, this is not what I expected, that is sad. That to me is starting to show me that these folks are starting to burn out. And living in burnout is super sad. I have been there. I'm still there on my job outside of the stuff that I have going on for me. But the moment that I start recognizing burnout in myself, that's when I know that I need to evaluate what's going on with me and figure out what needs to be changed. And the first thing that I changed was avoiding working extra. I don't care how hungry I go. I don't care how much more limited I live. I don't care how I narrowly make rent. I'll make the adjustments necessary. I don't care how little future money is going to be waiting for me. What matters to me is the now, because the now to me is what I'm actually guaranteed. The future is not guaranteed for shit. And the way that I see other people's lives who have more time in their future than I do, meaning like the age differences, I'm like, I think I have made some good ass choices. I have no regrets. And that's where, once again, that compare and contrast stuff becomes important for me. So there you guys have it. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I didn't just want to be like, yeah, don't complain, because you guys know that I love to complain. And it also is a way for me to have fun, honestly, because sometimes I like to complain about things that are legit, but sometimes I like to complain about bullshit because this is supposed to be a modern society where we are advanced and shit, but I'm not convinced. And it's just something that I'm not gonna change about me. I'll complain whenever I think it's necessary. I will keep calling out acts that I think are dead ass bad faith, just based off my experiences and beliefs, and nothing can stop me. And I don't think that it should stop you either. All right, that's it. Bye.